more than 75 years ago, one of the most famous historians of the modern Western world, a man of impeccable scholarly integrity, Arnold Toynbee, British historian. He wrote a book entitled Civilization on Trial, and this is what Arnold Toynbee revealed when he wrote Civilization on Trial. He said of modern Western civilization that it had come to the world to replace all previous civilizations. That history had reached it has completed, and there's nothing more to come. That all previous civilizations, including the civilization of Islam, are now obsolete and moribund and belong to the museums of history. And the world will witness nothing more from now on than the ascendancy of modern Western civilization. Well, look at that. But Afghanistan has just delivered, or is now delivering, a spectacular repudiation of that thesis of the modern West, that Islam is a spent force. Rather, Afghanistan has delivered the evidence that Islam is still alive. Not only that, but Islam has the capacity to resist the most powerful civilization that history has ever witnessed. Because it was not just United States in Afghanistan. It was the whole of the West and all their client states, what you call in Pakistan the chamchas of the West. And so the Republic of Turkey was in Afghanistan all these years. And the Afghan Muslim people fought the West for 20 years. And the reason why United States has to leave now is because they are scared of a public relations disaster. Because on the 11th of September, it will be 20 years since they invaded Afghanistan. And how did they do it? Yes, you know the story. And I am not afraid to tell it while others are afraid. I've never been afraid to tell it. That there are three kinds of lies. You know it. There are normal lies, and then there are great lies, and then there is 9/11. So they invaded Afghanistan with a mountain of a lie in order to be able to pursue a political agenda. And 20 years later, they have to withdraw in failure. And so a message is being sent all around the world. that Islam is still alive. And Islam is not a spent force. And Islam can take on the modern West and defeat it. In what sense has the United States been defeated in Afghanistan? In the same sense that they were defeated in Vietnam. Namely, they could not achieve their objectives. That was the defeat. And if Islam can fight the United States and all of the West in Afghanistan, then what is the promise that seems to be apparent now? The promise of what is to come. A message being sent to Venezuela. A message being sent to Bolivia. A message being sent to Chile. A message being sent to Nicaragua. A message being sent all around the world where people are being oppressed. That Islam has the promise that it can come to liberate the oppressed of the world. We also see evidence from events unfolding in Afghanistan that the modern West is in decline. Pax Americana replaced Pax Britannica. And it is Pax Americana which is now in decline. The evidence is astonishing, and it keeps on mounting. That the evidence is mounting that the modern West is in decline. The United States for the last 200 years has been intervening militarily with gunboat diplomacy in nearly every single Central American and South American country, willy-nilly to change governments, invading them, overthrowing governments for the last 200 years. And now, what has happened? That Venezuela has put a stop to it. The United States has tried everything you could possibly try to overthrow the Venezuelan government. Hugo Chavez slapped them on their faces until they got rid of him. And now Maduro is still holding on. Why can the United States not bring about regime change in its backyard in Venezuela? Why? That for all of these years you have this embarrassing spectacle of the United States circling Venezuela but unable to attack it. What has happened to the lion? Has he lost his teeth? The United States imposed a quarantine on Venezuela that they couldn't get oil because their oil refineries are not working. They didn't have the spare parts. And the Venezuelans were desperately in need of oil. Pakistan, of course, couldn't do it. But Iran did it. Pakistan does not have that profile at all that Iran has. And don't come to me with your criticisms of Shia sectarianism. I'm talking politics now. Iran had the profile, and Iran defied the West and sent 5 tankers filled with oil to Venezuela. And I was sitting in Trinidad, next door to Venezuela, watching what's going on. And the American warships are there in the Caribbean Sea, and they couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop it. The evidence is not there alone. 7 years ago, Russia reclaimed Ukraine. And when Russia reclaimed Ukraine, and because I have studied Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran, I said, it's time for Imran to celebrate. Because I have studied Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran. And for 7 years, the West has not been able to reverse what happened in Ukraine. They're no closer today than they were 7 years ago. Crimea, my mistake, Crimea. Crimea is firmly in the hands of Russia. And once you control Crimea, you control the whole of the Black Sea. The evidence of the decline of the West is mounting. It was there spectacularly on display in Syria. When they manufactured in their own factories, they manufactured ISIS. A CIA creation, a factory owned by the CIA created this ISIS. And they provided all the weapons, state-of-the-art weapons, through Saudi Arabia, of course, their chamcha, and Turkey, of course, their chamcha. And also you have Qatar and others along the line. And they provided them with all the US dollars they needed. And I call them Dajjal's warriors. And they hit me, oh yes, they hit me. And they went to work. And they killed and they slaughtered innocent people. And today the same people who did that and have no remorse, have no regrets, are saying, look at what Taliban is doing. I don't use the word Taliban. You never heard me using the word. It's the first time I'm using the word Taliban. Look at how they're behaving in Afghanistan. And they made havoc in Syria. And millions had to leave Syria as refugees. And then what happened? They were defeated. They were halted in their tracks. The West is in decline. And now, in addition to Venezuela, in addition to Crimea, in addition to Syria, Afghanistan. And so, when the United States finally jumps out of the frying pan in Afghanistan, in Kabul, as they jumped out of Saigon many years ago, the evidence, I am saying one more time, is mounting for those who have the capacity to see and understand and the integrity to realize that the civilization which has been ruling the world for 300 years is now in decline.